Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. Congratulations on being drawn for this once-in-a-lifetime elk hunting opportunity. You're among the lucky few every year that get drawn for these hunts. So we're excited to have you here. If you're part of the hunt and haven't registered, you need to go to the front, get signed in, get your paperwork. There's information in there that you guys need this week while you are hunting. So if you haven't registered, go get checked in and get you squared away. But again, welcome to Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. My name is Dan McDonald. Probably talked with a number of you over the last few months. So good to see a bunch of faces in here this morning. Had a pretty good turnout. I think we're 64 hunters out of 70. Had a few no-shows, but 64 is pretty good. So we're expecting a pretty good week. Weather should be fair to midland this week. Be a little bit warm while you guys are out there hunting. Nighttime temperature or overnight temperature would be pretty good if anybody needs to leave anything out overnight to get it out of the field. So I'd like to thank a few folks this morning. The Friends of the Wichita's organization that helps out the refuge a lot was kind enough to provide the donuts and coffee that appears that a lot of you enjoyed this morning. So big thanks to them. Thanks to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for help with the sign-in registration process. With that, we will get started. So history of elk on the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge, kind of a storied history over the years. The native elk that were on the refuge in this part of the country were extirpated in the late 1800s. And so the elk that we have here today are in large part due to reintroduction efforts that the refuge did back in the early 1900s. Elk from the Grand Teton area and other parts of Wyoming, Rocky Mountain elk, were used to start the nucleus herd that we have here today. Because those early introductions were so successful, the refuge was able to offer the first public hunts in 1969. We've had annual hunts ever since that time period. We do that in cooperation with Oklahoma Department of Wildlife. They've been a good partner for a lot of years to help administer these hunts from the administrative side and the law enforcement side. And so it's been a great partnership with these annual hunts. So these are the success results from the walk-in hunts that we had last year. This is the second of our hunts this year. We had an elk hunt 2 weeks ago. We had a 66 overall % success rate, so it was really good. Harvested 33 bulls, 33 cows, and then these results here are from last year and the year before walk-in hunts. So you can see from the results that your chances of harvesting an elk are pretty good, but it takes a lot of effort on your end of things to make that happen. It doesn't come with just sitting up against a tree hoping that an elk walks out in front of you. You're going to have to earn it on these hunts in order to go home with an elk. And some things to keep in mind, you do get them down. Average weights of elk that have been harvested out here over the years for bulls and cows. So, hope you got a strong back and a weak mind for when it comes to packing these things out, because it's a lot of work once you get that animal on the ground. So you guys got a lot of information when you guys got signed in. There's a regulation page on there. You need to sign that, indicating to our law enforcement guys if they stop you that I have read all of these regulations. We go over a bunch of them today. But there's others in there that you need to be familiar with. You also received a half page that goes on your dashboard. You need to legibly print your name on that page, leave it on the dash so it's visible for our law enforcement officers. That is to show those guys when they're driving around the refuge, if you're parked in a certain area, that you are part of this hunt, especially early in the morning or later on in the evening when most people should be out of here. With that dashboard sheet, they'll know that you are part of this hunt and are allowed to park in the area where you might be parked at after dark. And so make sure you have that on your dashboard so folks can see it when you leave here today. There is also a map, a printed map in the packet, and then some instructions for being able to download that same map to your phone. Recommend using that map, or I know a lot of guys use OnX, Hunt Stand. There's a variety of other apps out there for navigating around in the field. You can see closed areas, open areas for hunting. It shows the access points. It shows parking locations, and so a lot of information on those maps. And then also for once you get an animal down, marking that spot. So if you got to make several trips to get that animal out, it makes it a whole lot easier to navigate back to that animal to get it out of the field. So also there's, you guys can tell there's lots of hunters here. We have a lot of various parking areas, but some of them have limited capacity. They can only fit a handful of vehicles at some of these locations. And so, number one, don't park in the grass. You can't just pull off anywhere randomly and park and go off after an elk. Park in a parking area. There's lots of pullouts where you can park. You can park at some of the gates. There's room enough there to park at gates. If you park at a gate, don't block the gate. We might need to get in through those areas, and if somebody's parked right in front of the gate, we can't get through there. And then don't park on the grass. If you park at a gate area, there's enough room to stay on the asphalt or the dirt. Just don't be pulled off in the grass. Our law enforcement guys will be going around and looking for those boats that just pull off into the grass. You might come back to a ticket on your windshield if you're pulled off into the grass. So there's plenty of areas to park, get spread around and abide by the rules. You can see in there also, some parking capacity at some of the parking locations. So the map that you can download shows that. Also shows the various gates you can go through and places in the fence that are opened up for you guys to access in and out of the hunt units. So some blaze orange, hunter orange requirements. You need to have 400 square inches. That's the state law on your body, on your head. As long as you've got that minimum on you, you're good. And you need to have that on the entire time that you're out in the field hunting, not just when you leave the truck and then you take it off once you get out there. Leave it on, and the helper also needs to have that. Make sure that you guys have the minimum hunter orange while you're out in the field. And also each hunter that is drawn gets one non-hunting helper that can go with them while they were hunting. If you want to use one buddy the first day, another buddy the second day, and somebody else the third day, or however long it takes you to harvest your animal, you can do that, but you still only get one at a time. Even on the pack-out process, you get one person, and that's just to limit the number of people that are out in the field and the number of vehicles that are out parking in these various areas. And so you get one person while you're out there hunting. Also in the map that you can download, OnX also shows it. It shows the hunt unit letter. You guys, open areas for you to hunt this week are units C through I. That's about 34,000 acres. So plenty of ground for everybody to get spread out and not be on top of each other while you guys are hunting. But it is public land hunting. So more than likely you're going to be running across other people while you're out there. So just keep that in mind. Out of respect for fellow hunters, public land hunting. So, hunt accordingly and try to steer clear of each other while you're out there. There's plenty of room to get spread out and not be on top of each other. Same goes for when you're parking. Don't block each other in. Just common sense when you're out there parking and when you're out in the field. Yeah, and then some hunting or some shooting. There's you know, the main highway, asphalt roads. There's some infrastructure and places where there's people, offices and maintenance yards and camping so need to be 400 feet off of those paved road areas when you're hunting, just out of safety for anything in those areas. Instructions for downloading a map onto your phone, the map that we have available. All of that information is within your packets. If anybody has issues with that, let me know. Can help walk you through the process to get a map downloaded on your phone. Also, when you're doing that, if you're using OnX or HuntStand, make sure that you download an offline map, because once you get out of the field, in most areas, you're not going to have a cell signal to be able to use a map or your app if you don't have it offline. There's a few areas where you might be able to get a cell signal, but by and large, you are not going to have a cell signal throughout all that area that you guys are going to have. Yeah, more stuff on the maps to get downloaded. Again, that's the map that you can download. Shows parking areas, closed areas, access points. Also shows the unit letters. Entry and exit of the areas. You can enter the hunt units 90 minutes before legal shooting time, and then you have 90 minutes after legal shooting time to be back out. You know, if you're working on getting an elk out of the field, you know, law enforcement give you a little grace period there to get out if you're working on getting your elk out of the field. But for the most part, 90 minutes after legal shooting time. The hunt today starts immediately following this orientation. You can head out of here and head to the field and start hunting. But on Friday, you need to be out of the field by noon. Again, little grace period if you're working on trying to get an elk out of the field, but if you're not, then 12 o'clock on Friday, this hunt is over. As you guys are out driving around, especially when it's dark, speed limit's 35 miles an hour. It's for good reason. Bison, elk, longhorn on the roads or near roads, hard to see at night. We don't want anybody having an accident with an elk, longhorn, or bison, or anything else for that matter. So abide by the speed limit at all times, but especially at night. If you run into any issues, we've had guys that are out, you know, ordering up their elk and stab themselves, cut themselves fairly significantly. Run into anything like that, have any issues, call 911. That'll go to the county dispatch, and they'll dispatch help from there. If we need to be aware of any medical or health concerns that you think we need to be aware of, find me and let me know that. If for whatever reason somebody doesn't turn up at the end of the day, you know, we might have an idea of what kind of medical issues might be going on there. But if you do encounter any of that, hopefully you can find a cell signal, but your first line of defense for that is call 911 and they will dispatch accordingly. So we work really hard out here on the refuge to keep it as litter free as possible. So everything that you pack in, make sure you pack it back out. Water bottles, sandwich bags, latex gloves for cleaning animals, you know, flagging tape, you name it. If you take it in with you, make sure you take it back out of the field with you when you are done hunting. You don't want to have to follow up behind a bunch of elk hunters and picking up water bottles and trash bags or whatever else might be out there. So you pack it in, pack it back out. If you guys are so inclined and want to shoot the pigs or coyotes while you are out here, you are free to do that while you're hunting elk. Once you harvest your elk, you don't get to go back in and hunt pigs or coyotes. But during the period that you're hunting the elk and you come across pigs or coyotes and you want to shoot them, have at it. If you don't want to shoot them, you know, contact me, let me know. We use a lot of this information to get dialed in on where pigs are at least. We've got a pretty aggressive ball control program out here, so we'd like to know where pigs are if we don't already. So at least pass that information on to me. It helps us target areas that we need to go and do some pig removal. You guys will see lots of sheds, bison skulls, longhorn skulls. You don't get to keep them, so don't pack them out with you. You know, you want to take pictures, check them out. By all means, you can do that, but don't stick them in your pack and try to sneak them out on the refuge. You don't get to keep any of that stuff if you come across it. You'll see lots of them out there, but don't take them with you if you don't get to keep them. Don't anticipate any wildfires. We already had one wildfire. Hopefully we don't have any more. But if something does pop up, you know, start getting yourself out of the field as quickly as possible. We'll have our folks going out there getting people out of the field. If in the event there is a wildfire, we don't anticipate that. You know, it's been pretty high humidity, moist ground, and so it's unlikely, but if that does happen, start heading out. Folks will be running around getting everybody out of the field. If that does happen, as soon as that fire is under control, we'll resume the hunt, get people out in the field to finish up their hunt. And while we're talking about wildfire, we did have a wildfire here back in October, I think is when it was. Yep. It burned 2 units, the Unit C and Unit B. For the most part, it was a pretty moderate intensity burn. Burned a lot of the grass. Some areas got pretty hot, or it kind of took out everything. But for the most part, it was a low intensity burn. Did remove a lot of the grass through these areas, but we've had a pretty good amount of rain since that fire. A lot of these areas are starting to green up a little bit. But the number of elk within these areas is lower than it was pre-fire. There are still elk out in those areas. There's a lot of pockets that didn't burn at all, and that's where the elk are generally. But they're kind of scattered throughout these units, but number-wise, they're just not there like they were pre-burn. So if you are going to hunt within those burned areas, you know, there are elk still in there, so give them a look. You can still get one down in there, but there's just density of elk is just not what it was pre-fire. So legal firearms this week during the hunt, 270 or larger. You also only get 5 rounds of ammo per day. So don't have 5 on your body and, you know, the rest of the box in your day pack. Make sure you only have 5 on you while you're out in the field hunting. And that goes back to shooting pigs or coyotes. You know, you burn 4 or 5 on a pig or coyote, and you got nothing left for that big bull that walks out in front of you. You can still shoot pigs or coyotes, but just remember, you get 5 per day. You burn them all on coyotes and pigs, and then you're out when the elk comes out. If you do go through your 5, and you got a wounded elk, you know, just a pack back to the truck, or send your helper back to the truck to get, you know, another round or 2 to finish that elk off. So just keep that in mind. If you got a wounded elk, get back to the truck to get the rest of your ammo or a couple more rounds to shoot your elk. So know what you're shooting when you're out there. For the guys hunting cows, goes for bull hunters also, but especially cows. Cows are, right now, they're in fairly large groups. So you could come and encounter something like this. These elk are super tough. You could blow up both lungs and the heart, and it might not even twitch. So if you got to pull the trigger a second or third time, make sure that it's the same elk that you shot at the first time. Of all the violations that we have, those are the most common, where a guy gets into a group like this, shoots several times, they go up over the hill, he tracks them down to that elk lane. So if you got to shoot more than once, make sure that you're shooting at the same animal that you did the first time. Bull hunters, same kind of deal. And then also any visible antler is a bull. And so make sure you look them over, the cow hunters, look them over real good. Generally, this time of year, spike bulls have a spike that's 12 to 18 inches long. Some could be shorter, could be hidden by an ear, or if they're in some thicker brush or cover, you might not see some of that, but look them over really good. Look for those spikes if you're a cow hunter. For the either sex hunters, you know, it doesn't really matter. You can shoot either one. But for the cow hunters, make sure you look those animals over really good and they're not hiding a little spike on their head. So some keys to success, like I mentioned earlier, if you're going to sit in one spot hoping that something comes across you, success goes down quite a bit. On these hunts, you're going to have to work for it. Be mobile, use the terrain, use the habitat, all of that to your advantage. On days like today, when that wind is really blowing, it's not super cold, but you're still going to look for places to get out of the wind. Down in the bottoms in timber or on the backside of hills is where you're going to find elk on days like today. If the weather gets cold, which not probably going to happen this week, but think about the weather, think about the wind, use that to your advantage, and think about where elk are going to be in the kind of weather that you're going to encounter this week. When, in the afternoon, it's going to be the same kind of deal. They're going to be looking for shady spots, out of the sun, backside of hills, down in bottoms, in timber, getting out of the heat, looking for shade. So hunting later on in the day, keep all that stuff in mind. But be mobile, get to some high ground, use your binoculars, sit in glass. And chances are you're going to find some elk when you start doing that. And then figure out from there how you're going to get to it. If you're sitting in a spot for more than an hour and you hadn't seen anything, start moving. Find another spot to go and sit in glass. Use your binoculars more than your legs as you're out there hunting. And when you are walking around out there, guys, a lot of you are going to just beat feet and cover miles upon miles upon miles. You're going to wear yourself out, and a lot of you will walk too fast and end up walking past elk. So walk slow, cover this ground, but do it smart. Go a little ways, sit, glass. Go a little ways, sit in glass. And if you do that, chances are you're going to be in that, for bulls, 80% range of success. Same for cows. You hunt smart, chances are you're going to come across them. Population right now is between 12 and 1,400 elk. So we have the elk. They're there. You just got to hunt smart in order to find them. Also, last thing, if you do bump into elk, more than likely what they'll do, they'll just run 50 to 100 yards. They're going to stop and they're going to look at you. These elk out here don't get a ton of pressure, and so they're not like what you might be accustomed to. If you bump something, it's headed for the next county over. Out here, they won't go very far before they stop and look at you. It gives you an opportunity to squeeze off a shot. And so keep that in mind as you're out there hiking around, walking. If you bump something, it's going to not go far and stop it and give you a chance to shoot. So what you do, if you are successful and get that animal on the ground, it's going to be warm this week, and so you need to get the guts out of that animal as quick as possible. These things are super insulated, and they will keep all of that heat in them. Even if you want to do, the gutless method, Alaskan style, whatever it might be, these things are so insulated, and if it gets up into the 50s and 60s, and that sun's beating on them, that's going to spoil really, really fast. And so get that gut out of them. Get them opened up, get them cooled down, get that hide off them as quick as you can to preserve that meat. If you end up having to leave an animal out or parts of it overnight, nighttime temperature is going to be sufficiently cool to where that meat's going to be fine. If you have prepped it properly, get the hide off of it, get the guts out at minimum. But you need to get those guts out as quick as possible. You also need, on these hunts, you need to field tag it and e-check. I'm sure most of you have hunted whitetail deer, and you got to do the same thing out there. I think you got to put your name, date, and the confirmation number on that field tag when you're in the field. And when you have a cell signal, in order to e-check, you need to e-check. But those things both need to be done right after you harvest that animal. and with the E-check. So this hunt, we are in the special southwest zone. When you drop those menu options down, there's special southwest and there's southwest. On previous hunts, we have taken away from the southwest zone quota because guys aren't paying close enough attention when they start doing that drop down. So make sure it's the special southwest zone, Comanche County, and then we are the WMA, Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. Under the land type, there's WMA private. I think it might just be WMA private. Well, we're WMA and then Wichita Mountains. So under the WMA, it has Fort Sill, and there's actually two options on the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. Either one of those works, but the main thing is that special southwest zone. You don't want to take away from the quota for the southwest zone from animals that are harvested on this hunt. So pay close attention to that when you're going through those menu options. So packing your animals out. You need to leave evidence of sex naturally attached to the animal. Bull hunters, you guys are going to have the head, so that's sufficient. It's for the cow hunters. You need to leave that udder naturally attached to one of those hind quarters. Even if you bone it out, you can work around that udder and keep it attached to that hind quarter. But needs to be attached to that. The udder needs to be attached to that hind quarter. If you want to bone these animals out, you're welcome to do that. It's less weight that you have to pack out. And then all the forequarters, backstrap, and tenderloin at minimum need to be packed out. But I strongly suggest that you take every bit of meat that you can get off of these things, because a lot of you will never probably hunt elk again. And so keep as much of this stuff as you can. You can probably get 20 pounds of scrap meat off the neck. I should have put some pictures up here for guys that had on this previous hunt and showed me. I mean, they took every little bit of scrap. They took all the meat that's from in between the ribs. They took all the neck meat. Makes good scrap meat for, putting in the ground. And so, carve these things up. Take your time. Get as much of the stuff off these animals as you can. Because once you start eating it, you'll wish you would have taken more if you don't. And so, take your time. Get every bit of scrap meat off of these animals if you can. So, I know a lot of guys probably brought carts. If you plan to use a cart, your cart could end up looking like this if you try to, take it up on the mountainside with you. We've got lots of roads that go throughout the area. They'll work well on the roads, but if you try to just go across the prairie or up and down the mountains, your cart probably look like this if you try to use it there. If you don't have a pack frame to get these animals out, I suggest you go grab one or some kind of a pack. That's going to be the easiest way to get these things out, or at least off the top of the mountain, is getting it in a pack frame once you get it quartered up. Carts can work, or sleds can work, but it's all just kind of depends on where the animal is and if you're able to come down a road to get the animal back to the truck. So if it's getting dark and you don't have enough time to get it out of the field for the evening, you might need to leave it out there overnight, hang it from a tree, get it up on some rocks, and go back out after it the next morning to get it out of the field. If you prep everything properly, one, get the guts out of it. It's going to be plenty cold overnight to preserve that meat, be good. But got to get those guts out. We've had a few over the years where guys leave the guts in overnight, and it spoils that entire animal. So get the guts out, get that gut pile away from the carcass, get as much work done as you can on it, get it quartered up, pack some stuff out if you can, if you got the time. If you don't, hang it up in the tree, put it up on a rock, hang a sweaty sweatshirt or jacket on that carcass, and we don't typically have any issues with coyotes getting on anything. Most of the time, the coyote's going to go after that gut pile first anyway. And so you got to leave it out overnight. If you prep it properly, that meat's going to be just fine. being out there overnight. And with that, introduce Mike Carroll, game warden with Comanche County.
Morning. First off, congratulations on drawing this hunt. It's once a lifetime deal, and I will enjoy it. How many of you's ever killed elk before in here? Raise your hand. Okay, not too many. Two most common violations we have out here are doubles and spikes on a cow tag. Somebody in this room is going to shoot a double. I've worked 70, 80 of these hunts. I've never had a hunt somebody didn't shoot a double. Worst I ever had was 5 doubles in one day. Not one hunt, one day. So, somebody in here is going to shoot a double. It just happens. You get on the animal, usually cows, you shoot, get off, in the recoil, you lose it, you shoot again, walk up there, and I've seen them laying 10 foot apart or closer. If that happens to you, call me. Everybody write that number down right there and take a picture of it. Now, on a side note, do not call me at 10 o'clock at night telling me you had your elk down and you want somebody to come pack you out of there. That has happened before. I am not going to come get you, and you should have already been out a long time ago. But if it happens, call me. If you're honest with me, I'll make it easy. I'll make it as easy on you as I can. Pay a little fine, you'll get to keep one of the elk. If you lie to us, you get the full ride. It could end up cost you several $1,000s. Lose your gun and a lot of other stuff. Be honest. The other violation is a spike on a cow tag. I saw one last week, not long. It was a yearling calf, but any visible antler is a bull. Same thing on the spikes. Don't stomp them off, bust them off the rock, rub mud on them. Call me. We'll work something out. We're not going to embarrass anybody. We want y'all to harvest these animals. That's how they control the population. If you're honest with me, I'll work with you all I can. If you lie to me, you get the full ride. Is that fair enough?
Yes, sir.
All right. Everybody wear your orange, like he says, not just when you're getting out of the truck or close to the road. We've had people slip in on these hunts because what better, there's 100 guys out there with orange and guns. We've had people drop off hunters in these hunts and get, go in. If you see something odd or you don't, call Dan, call me, call the visitor center. The refuge yelling guys will probably be closer. But let somebody know something that just looks odd and out of place, because we have had that happen. Your 5 rounds, stick to that, because you can see us out in the field checking y'all. If you shoot 5, if you don't shoot any rounds today, you don't get 10 tomorrow. 5 a day, it doesn't accumulate. We've had that question. The terrain out here, it may look flat out there. It is rough. There's cobblestone rocks all through this place. You're going to stumble, you're going to fall, your hips and knees are going to be hurt by the end of the day. One little tip, if you fall with your firearm, hold on to it. It doesn't, it's going to hurt worse. Hold on to it, tuck and roll if you can. You pitch that gun, you might get shot with your own gun. You bang on the rocks, put a stick through the trigger, whatever. Hold on to your firearm. Did you tell them I had the field tag in the field or not? Okay, disregard that. One in the field, I don't care. When you're packing it out, once you get it back to your truck, it needs to be field tagged. Okay? Now, if you're in the middle of quarter one out, I don't care if you have a tag on it. Once you get it back to your vehicle and get it out, get your field tag on it. Name, date, time killed, and your customer ID number. And then once you get service, then get it checked and put your confirmation number on it. But as long as you're inside the fence packing them out, I don't care if you put a tag on it. But if I catch you at your truck and you got your whole elk there, you better have a tag on it, okay? What else did I do? Bullets. What? Oh, no pistols. You don't need a pistol. You got a rifle and 5 rounds. There's nothing out here that's going to bother you. That we get that question every time too. Wear your orange, 5 bullets. Main thing is make sure of what you're shooting at. Excuse me, and make sure it's the same animal. Like I shot a bull elk 3 weeks ago that had a broke leg, 50 yards. I smoked him twice with AR-10. He never flicked an ear. And I really thought, I knew I couldn't have missed him because he was 50 yards away. He just stood there and looked at me for about a minute, and then he fell over dead. These animals can soak up a lot of punishment. So if you have to shoot again, make sure it's the same animal, because that's how the doubles happen. Anybody